Let's get to a couple that came in early. The first one is, what things do you think should be on a liner card and what things should not be on a liner card?
Again, I think Mike hit it on the head with reverse engineering it and thinking of it from a standpoint, from the listener's standpoint, and what's going to get them to engage and interact. Those are the things that should be on there, like the highlights, what am I getting out of it and how do I get it?
Yeah, what's in it for me as a listener? Because otherwise, I don't care. I just don't.
Yep.
The details, all the minutia doesn't matter to me, but the chance to do something fun with my kids this weekend, to have them see Santa, and I get to play that game I love the morning show do. Now that there's a reason for me to pay attention to that. It has nothing to do with the car dealer and the remote, but now there's something in it for me as a listener.
Okay. Next question is, what things should have liners and be scheduled, and what things should not be scheduled and don't need liners? That's an odd question, and I'm not quite sure exactly how to frame that. I think it's.
I think what they're getting at is what's big enough to warrant liners. Is that what they're asking?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, what should liner cards do, I guess, is kind of what needs a liner card and what doesn't, and what should be promos, perhaps.
I mean, what they're probably getting at is there's sometimes sales can push some things in there that need to be in inventory and don't need to be a programming liner. Is that what they're talking about? That's probably what they're getting at, I would assume.
That could be. Speaking of sales, how about liners for clients and sales events? This is one that all markets are facing more and more now. The salesperson goes out and sells something to an advertiser and comes back with a list of copy points that's all pre-written and pre-approved by the client. What do you do in that situation?
I mean, to me, the same rules apply. If it's being said by an on-air talent within programming, that's programming inventory, and you can spin it as a positive by saying, we will deliver the best results for the client if we're given bullet points. That's how we work on it. That's how our personalities work on everything. It's better for the client. It's more likely to work if we put it into our own words. If you write it out verbatim, it is going to sound like an ad, and they're going to tune out, and you lose the value. There's a reason why there's a premium value placed on things that on our personalities say live.
Yeah, this goes back to the programmer too. I mean, we've got to take the initiative to try to get ahead of these things before they are sold, and then back to us as a horrible obligation. And not everything does deserve a liner card. I mean, I've worked with stations where they're rotating liner cards. There's 30 things in there, and it's everything from the Sunday night bluegrass show to an appearance and their big $50,000 contest, and they're all kind of in there. And so I think we need to kind of prioritize what's the messaging, and to Andy's point, a lot of this sales stuff really does need to come out of sales inventory.
Yeah, but even coming out of sales inventory, I think it should end up being the principle should be that it's programming's job to deliver results for the client. What's the results for the client are to get traffic and to get people to come to their event, to come to their promotion. And that's not, and the liner isn't designed to sell a product for them. And I think there needs to be that conversation, and maybe the programmer needs to be involved with the client when that's being created to make that a little bit more possible. But it's communication and having that up front. A lot of times the client doesn't even know what to ask for. They just say, well, here's a whole bunch of things that we'd like you to say on the air. And the salesperson says, yeah, okay, fine. A lot of times programmers need to insert themselves in that conversation a little bit more.
Yep.
Chuck Taylor says, here's a tip. The game Snake Oil is a great resource to get talent to practice ad libs. I don't know that game, but I'm going to check it out. Snake Oil, to practice ad libs. Kevin says, how does this principle apply to recorded promos for the event or contest, like contest times 10, 10, 12, 10, etc.? I'll answer that. I believe that ultimately, I mean, the ultimate goal for a promo campaign should be that every promo has a shelf life of one play. Now that's not practical and that's not going to happen. You're going to have more than one play per promo. But if you go into it with that, where you're thinking every promo that airs, I want it to be so specific that it's calling attention to where I want the audience to go, when I want them to go, and it applies at this time to this audience in this moment. And then back up from there and see how much you can do with that. When I had a promotion that would run multiple times per day, or a contest that ran multiple times per day, I would always run a recorded promo. And sometimes I'd run 3 recorded promos in the same hour. One saying in less than an hour, you can play. Another one that said in X number of minutes, you can play. And one that's in 2 songs or 1 song, you can play. So it's very immediate. And you could use that in all of the hours, because it's not saying it's at a specific time. Then in between the times it plays, let's say you play the game at 10:10 and you're playing again at 12:10. In the 11 o'clock hour, I'm playing a promo that says your next chance to play is at 12:10. Play at 12:10, and that only plays in the 11 o'clock hour. Play in less than an hour at 12:10. And so you think the whole thing through, and you end up creating a lot of different promos. But man, it sounds great. It sounds immediate, and it sounds like it's really active.
Right.
Yeah, and the key to making that manageable, because that can sound overwhelming. That probably sounds overwhelming to some folks listening, but the key to make it manageable is to do less better. Like we said earlier, you're probably running a lot of promos and imaging for things that you don't necessarily need to be running promos and imaging for. So if you focused on that big thing and do less things better, you're still doing the same amount of work, and you're actually driving more traffic.
Yeah. Here's a great question. Robert says, around my station, there's an attitude that listeners need everything spelled out for them. How can one try and shift people away from this notion?
I hate our listeners are stupid. I hate that. I hear it a lot. And in the aggregate, that is not the case. And I don't care the format. Maybe I'm sensitive because I'm from the South and have a lot of experience in country, and you hear that a lot in country. But I hate that philosophy. That's not true. In the aggregate, they're not stupid. They don't, and it actually simplifies it and makes it easier for them to understand and react to something if you tell them the next time to listen and exactly why they need to be.
Yeah, they're not stupid, but they don't have the attention span, or they don't care as much as we do. Back to the producer versus listener focus. We care about all this stuff. They don't. So we've got to simplify it. It's not a question of dumb. It's a question of how much bandwidth they're going to give us. And they don't give us nearly as much as we as producers think they do.
Yeah. Like you said earlier, they're not stupid. They're busy.
Yeah, they're doing life. They're doing life.
Yeah, and it's not important to them. So they're not going to jump through a lot of hoops or pay a lot of attention. And when it starts to sound overwhelming, when it sounds like a chore, they will stop participating. So how can we try and shift people away from that notion? It's keeping it simple and making it simple. I mean, and man, I'll never forget, there was one of the stations that I worked with was giving away a car. And the promo, I had it memorized for a while. I probably won't get this quite right, but the promo was something like, listen at 7:30 tomorrow morning to find out the key song of the day. And then when it plays during the workday between 10 and 5, be caller number 100 to win a key that might start the car in September and win a car. Who's going to do that?
Right.
And that's giving them all the details. But really the only thing that the listener needs to hear is win a car tomorrow morning, 7:30. Make an appointment at 7:30. At 7:30, then tell them what they need to do next. And by the way, instead of making them listen from 10 to 5, nobody's going to do that. Who's going to listen 7 hours to win a key that might start a car? To get a 1 in 100 chance to start a car. There's so many hoops there. Nobody's going to do that. So, but if that's still going to be the mechanics, just get them to the next action.
Right.
Get them to 7:30 tomorrow morning, and at 7:30 tomorrow morning, get them to listen at work, and then give them the unfair advantage. By the way, it's going to happen today at 1:20.
Right.
Again, asking for less, and you'll get more. If there are any more questions, we are happy to take them now. I don't see any coming in right now, but if you have something, this is kind of the last call for questions. Type it into the chat box and we will answer it here. In the meantime, if you have an idea for an upcoming workshop, we would love to hear those as well. You can send us a message through the chat box, or you can send it through the website at tjohnsonmediagroup.com. And we will be back with a couple of workshops in January. We try to do these every 2 weeks or so, and we'll be back in 2023 with a lot more. Also, if you're an insider, be watching your email box in the next week or so. We got an all new seminar that will be available on demand for insiders only about top of mind awareness and how to increase top of mind awareness, and why that is the most important thing that radio stations should be looking at as we get into the new year. Another question came in from Brennan, says, I use a weekly sheet of 3 liners for my team to rotate in their shifts. I use a combination of bullet points and key phrases. Is there a better way to accomplish that?
I think that's a good, so she is using bullet points?
A combination of bullet points and key phrases.
I don't know that you necessarily need the key phrases, do you?
Well, I think it depends what those key phrases are. If there's
Right.
key phrases that are action words, then I think that is probably good, as long as you're not putting it into the words to have the personalities just regurgitate.
Right. And then the other thing I would say is include, sometimes we have a tendency to skip over liners in our air check sessions.
Yes.
But if you're doing that and you go over the good and the bad of what they're doing with the liners in the air check session, I think that's good.
Yeah, just don't throw the liners at them. If you're going to give them bullet points and key phrases, you want to coach them on how you want them to execute that, and then during the air check sessions, make sure that they're doing what you want them to do. It's not a set it and forget it type situation.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Brennan, I like that idea. Weekly sheet of 3 liners to rotate in their shifts. I think that's terrific. Idea for a future workshop about remotes, how to turn remotes into a show, and best practices at remotes. And this is great.
That's good.
That's a great idea, especially for live. The live broadcast can derail shows quite a bit. So that's a great topic.
Yeah. Is it necessary to always read the terms and conditions in liners, because personalities always sound bored when they do it?
Do not read terms and conditions in liners. That's what you have a website for, and bury that stuff. That is, they're never going to hear it. There's not enough time to do it properly.
That's horrible. Yeah, you absolutely don't want to read terms and conditions. In fact, I would keep terms and conditions out of promos too. And I know there's more and more stations that are starting to do that now. That disclaimer that runs at the end. And I think that's probably just some overly cautious attorney somewhere that is dictating that to the company. So definitely follow the advice of your attorneys. But you really don't need to do that. As long as you have the terms and conditions and official rules on the website and are running that rules promo at least once a day, you don't need to have it in there every time.
Think of it this way. McDonald's, when they're running their Monopoly promotion or whatever, is not putting all the terms and conditions on those TV spots.
That's right.
They'd be 2-hour infomercials.
Yes.
Yeah, they tell you how much money you can win and how fun it is and how easy it is to win. And they're just trying to get you into McDonald's to get another game piece.
Right. And then they'll get you back for another, shake or whatever. But getting them to that next appointment is exactly the idea.
Yeah, and when you're in the store, they'll have a display that shows you all the details of how to play, and they will have it on the game pieces. And when they hand everything out, they'll lead you into the engagement. They'll lead you deeper into engagement with them and get you hooked on the game. And those who are playing more will have that information will be available to you.